Today seems like a banana kind of day. Whatever the hell that means. But anytime I have bananas in the fruit bowl over there, 9 times out of 10 there are a few that just start to go really, really ripe. And this is about as ripe as I would let them get. They're not all the way dark, but they're pretty much there. Great for banana bread, but I don't like to do the typical thing. So we're actually going to be making a recipe out of my cookbook today, the spiced banana cupcakes with peanut butter frosting. I developed this recipe specifically for this cookbook. It's very, very easy, but incredibly delicious and perfect for the spring and summertime. So I'm excited to be sharing it with you guys today. The link for my cookbook in the description below. Be sure to order yours and you will be baking with me like a pro in no time. And for this recipe, you need 3 large, very ripe bananas. If they're not really, really ripe yet, they get really, really sweet once they ripen to this point. So the recipe does pretty much need them to be not quite this ripe, but almost to this point, like banana bread point. So I suppose this is one of those recipes where you should probably plan ahead, buy your bananas a few days in advance. And if you put them in a brown paper bag or even a plastic bag, just tie it, kind of trap the oxygen in there. They'll oxidize and ripen a lot faster. Plus it'll probably lessen the chance of you having fruit flies, and I hate those. Like anytime one of those pops up, I'm like, get the out of here, what are you doing? So I'm just gonna mash up these bananas into a nice, it doesn't need to be like a smooth paste. I want various sized chunks, so I'm not gonna completely pulverize these, because once we mix them into the batter, it's gonna break them up a little bit more. And I want kind of chunks of banana throughout the cupcake. I don't want it to be a smooth banana paste. So this is actually good like this. So I'm gonna set this aside, and you'll be shocked at how quickly this batter comes together. So in a bowl here, I have my cake flour. Like I've said before, if you don't have cake flour, however much cake flour the recipe calls for, measure the same amount of all-purpose flour. For every cup, take out 2 tablespoons and replace the 2 tablespoons with cornstarch. So this is 1 3/4 cup of cake flour here. To that, I'm going to be adding some granulated sugar. My leavening, this uses baking powder, baking soda, and salt. I use kosher salt. It's a little less harsh than traditional salt. It's also not as dense, so a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt is very different than a 1/2 teaspoon of regular salt, because the kosher salt's lighter, so it's not going to make it as salty. But if you're using regular salt, I would say just use a 1/4 teaspoon instead of a 1/2 teaspoon. And some cinnamon and nutmeg. Adding spices to this just really gives it a nice depth of flavor, and they taste incredible. So that's it for the dry ingredients. I'm just going to whisk them together really, really well to get that leavening and cinnamon and nutmeg really dispersed throughout the flour. And to my flour here, I'm going to be adding 1/2 stick or 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Needs to be totally softened at room temperature. Just going to add that in there. And I'm going to use my hand mixer here to beat this just until the butter is broken up to the size of breadcrumbs. Awesome. And to my butter, going to be adding some vegetable oil, and then I'm going to be adding my room temperature eggs. And in this recipe, it actually doesn't matter if you add the eggs both at the same time. And then we're going to go in with our vanilla extract, as well as our gorgeous mashed bananas. That was a fun noise. Oh, I'm not a fan of that. And just mix on a low speed until it all combines. It'll be thick at this point, but that's totally fine. And last but certainly not least, we have some buttermilk. And just because I hate over mixing anything, I'm gonna finish this off with my spatula here, just to make sure we don't overbeat the flour and make the cupcakes tough. But this is a gorgeous batter. Smells amazing. You can see the chunks of banana. I leave the batter as is, but if you want to fold in chocolate chips or walnuts or pretty much any mix-in, you can absolutely do that. Add some texture in there. But I love these as they are. They don't even need it, which says a lot. So I have my muffin tin here lined with cute little yellow cupcake liners. It is banana, so I thought yellow banana, why not? And I'm gonna fill these 2/3 of the way full. You don't wanna overfill your cupcake liners, because then they'll spill over the top and they'll end up sinking in the middle. But you also wanna make sure you fill them enough so that they do rise a little bit over the top once they get that nice little dome. So the best way to do this, in my opinion at least, is to use a cookie scoop. I can't find my big cookie scoop. I had one that made perfect size cupcakes, but we just moved into this kitchen like 2 weeks ago. So she got lost in the move and I'm really upset about that. So I'm just going to use this one to fill these about 2/3 of the way full, which I guess is about 2 of these. I developed this technique because I worked in a bakery several years ago where I made hundreds of cupcakes every morning starting at 4 a.m. And we had various size scoops for each of the batters because each of the batters rose differently in the oven. So it's just like when you get in the habit of that, and see I'm already tapping the bowl, like this was the habit. You would just scoop, tap the air out, let go, keep going, and you'd pop out several hundred cupcakes in a matter of a couple hours. She's got experience. Plus, because I am so OCD when it comes to about serving, I want them all to be the same size anyway. So I love doing this because they all come out exactly the same. But of course, you don't need any type of special equipment for this. You can absolutely just use a spoon and eyeball it. And this recipe actually makes around 17 cupcakes. All right, those are great. My first pan done here. Gonna wipe off any excess batter on the top, and I know I'm gross, but it's so good. And these are gonna go in a 350 Fahrenheit oven for about 12 to 15 minutes until they spring back when lightly touched, or if you use a toothpick, it should come out clean when inserted into the center. See you soon, my lovelies. All right, my cupcakes are out of the oven. They look absolutely perfect, which is always the most exciting thing ever when it comes out of the oven, and it is just like, it's already beautiful. So we're gonna get this frosting started. I love this frosting. I'm a huge peanut butter fan, so I knew when I made this recipe, bananas, peanut butter, they go hand in hand. At least they do for me. I remember as a kid, I would watch my dad eat a banana, and with every bite, he'd put a spoonful of peanut butter on it. And it's just like, those are the nostalgic things that stick with you and kind of influence recipes to this day. So I guess I could say, Dad, this one's for you. So I'm gonna start off with my softened butter. It needs to be totally softened, room temperature, unsalted butter. I have a pinch of kosher salt in there already. And I'm just gonna beat this on a medium speed for a couple minutes until it's nice, light, and fluffy. I'm gonna add my creamy peanut butter in there. If you're using all natural or organic peanut butter, it's okay, just make sure you really stir it because that oil separates. You don't want the oil to separate. As much as it may pain you to get not all natural peanut butter at the store, it does work better, especially in frostings. It just holds up a little bit better, but like I said, just make sure that oil is completely combined before you add it into the butter. So with my peanut butter, I'm gonna be adding some vanilla extract as well. Just gonna beat this one more time. And then I have my confectioner sugar, like I always do with frosting. I'm gonna add it about a half a cup at a time so I can fully mix in each addition before adding the next and taste it once I think I've added enough. That way I don't risk making it too sweet. Oh my God. It tastes like the inside of a Reese's cup, which for you peanut butter lovers, can't beat it. This is on the soft side, so I'm gonna give this just about 10 minutes in the refrigerator, just so it can set up a little bit. And that way my cupcakes will have a chance to cool completely because you can't frost warm cupcakes, otherwise it's a melty mess, and we don't want that. These cupcakes look absolutely perfect. I could not be happier with them. So I got my peanut butter frosting in a piping bag here with a large star tip. You can just spread the frosting on top of the cupcakes if you want to, if you don't have a piping bag, but of course I gotta make it look pretty. So I'm just gonna gently start piping here. And this is, I have to say, one of the parts of baking I enjoy the most is piping frosting on top of cupcakes because it's just so exciting. And knowing all the flavors that are in here and how delicious they are, it's just so much fun to me. Oh my God. Oh, that just makes my day better. Not that these need anything else, but I thought it'd be fun to put some chocolate chips on top. Especially if you add chocolate chips or chopped nuts into the batter. It's a great idea to put some on top of the frosting to let people know what's inside. Because I think a proper cupcake has the great flavorful cake, the delicious frosting, and then a little garnish on top of that. So I'm just gonna add a few chocolate chips on top of each one here. Not a ton, but just for a nice little exciting crunch on top. Oh my goodness, look at that. You can find the full written recipe metrics included in my cookbook. Like, I'm sorry to do that to you guys, but I can't post all these recipes online for free. Otherwise, what's the point of trying to sell a book? But there are tons of amazing recipes in here, ranging from, you know, easy to a little more complicated, but still very straightforward. So be sure to give me a subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave me some comments and a thumbs up. Until next time, this is Bake It with AJ. That is literal perfection right there. Oh my God. Honestly, one of the best cupcakes I've ever freaking had.